Open your mind.
Quite good. Attack warning. Is it for real? Attack warning for bloody real.
Live from Colorado Springs, the Drop Culture Podcast.
Want to confirm, is this an exercise? Roger, copy. This is not an exercise.
Come on, quick, get down. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome, everybody, to the Drop Culture Podcast. This is that podcast where we pick up that piece of drop culture or pop culture that you forgot about or missed, shine it up real nice, and cram it in your ear holes. Brock.
Yo.
Today, first of all, last week we did B-list heroes. B to Z-list heroes, really. that we were excited to see in something new,
or their own underused.
Searching for
Best way to
words
put
there.
that.
It's like I'm on a podcast. People are listening.
What?
I know.
People watch us all the time. Come on.
They do watch us all the time. Always feel like somebody's watching me. I don't know.
Get a bang gang do gang dang gang do.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't know any more words of that song.
That's why I always do that.
Yeah,
But a goon gang dang gang doon dang.
that really makes the most sense.
It does.
It does.
It does.
I'm with it.
So let's let everybody know what our 5 B-list to Z-list superheroes are, and then we'll jump into our B-list villains. And it's the same rules apply on this. I mean, they can't really have their own ongoing series, or they might be a background ancillary, villain, or just something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Somebody that's really, really super cool that is just underutilized.
And these are all subjective, so again,
Right.
These are just our lists. Came up with what we wanted to see.
Did you want to say your heroes first?
Oh man, I'm trying to think back to that episode. I don't have that list in front of me.
Okay.
Solo, I remember that one guy was on there.
Yeah.
Teleportation guy.
Yeah. Well, I'll count down from 5. My number 5 was Havoc. Number 4 was Martian Manhunter. Number 3 was Lobo. Number 2 was Deathlock. And number 1 was U.S. Agent.
Nice.
And as a matter of fact, this week I picked up a copy of Deathlock's second appearance.
Nice.
Yeah. So
And is that your eternal quest for number 2s?
Well, here's the thing. Like, everybody owns the number 1s and nobody owns the number 2s. Why the fuck not?
There you go. And when they're looking to complete that, they're going to be like, well, I guess we have to talk to Brock. He's got all the number 2s.
Bam.
Done,
Bam.
son.
I got Dazzler number 2. Second appearance of Deathlock.
I have the first. So I was looking through my comics the other day, and I have like number 1s of Moon Knight from almost every series that he's done except for the original one, and I only have number 2.
Oh. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. It's the number 2 syndrome.
What's funny about that is I owned all of those well before there was ever going to be a Moon Knight show.
Damn. I see, back in the day, I didn't have any comic books from the 70s. They were all, 80s and 90s.
I would say these were like in the last 2 years I bought these. You know what I mean?
Oh, nice.
Just like
nice.
picking them up in different places. I'd be like, oh, yeah, I need that, I guess.
Yeah, that was, it was one of those things that I always wanted, the older comic books, but they were pretty out of reach whenever you lived in a smaller town.
Sure.
You just really didn't have a place to go to see those. And when you did, it was like, oh my God.
When I was in high school, we got our first comic book store that I remember in my hometown, and it was called Gotham Comics, but it had like the bat symbol, kind of like Gotham. but it was Gotham Comics. And they did a thing like to see what their name was going to be. And my friend's little brother wrote in girls, girls, girls. I was like, that's the best answer right there.
Yes, that would have been awesome. Girls, girls, girls.
Well, you definitely attract more people than Gotham Comics.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
they may not
Gotham
know that they're coming there for comics, but you're going to get them in the door.
Ugh, that just seems like a horrible name.
Anyway,
we're talking
like 30 miles away anyway, so whatever.
Well, yeah, the only comic book store I had was Big Apple Comics, and they moved like 3 times and finally got their own building. They still are the exact same today.
Really?
No shit. Everything is the exact same as it was 5 years ago when I went. Everything was the exact same 10 years ago when I went. He does have a Lobo, first appearance Lobo for sale for relatively inexpensive. So that's where I got my Immortal Hulk #1.
Oh, okay.
For like $18 or some shit that. So, yeah. But I'm going to go see that because, I will be in Amarillo. So
there you go.
Whenever you hear this episode, you're going to be hearing the Man on the Street episode from that trip that I'm taking to the Rilla. It's going to be fun. But let's get down to these villains. Let's get down to these freaking badasses. I'll go first.
Okay.
With my number 5. I think Crossbones should be like more prominent everywhere. Crossbones
I don't disagree
is awesome.
with that. Yeah. No, absolutely.
Not the movie Crossbones,
right?
Even though the movie Crossbones was cool. Yeah, it
different.
Wasn't. Yeah, he was always really imposing, but yet he could really like go toe to toe with Cap.
Yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't one of those things to where, he wasn't up to the task.
Right.
Kind of came out of nowhere with that Bloodstone shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just came out of the fucking blue in the Bloodstone 5-parter that Cap had back in the day. And then, Diamondback was about the same time, and she's another one. That generation of the Cap villains and heroes and everything like that. Those are the ones that I do miss. They don't really utilize those that much.
Agreed.
Yeah, they did. I mean, Brubaker did a lot of extra things with Crossbones, like being, in love with Red Skull's daughter, shit like that.
Right.
Sin. Yeah. So he's been on a lot of stuff, but at the same time, I think he could cross over. He could be really good.
There you go. No, I think that's a great one. I think he's a cool character for sure. And I don't think that they, while they kind of got his essence a little bit in the movies, which is just fine the way they do all that. I don't mind. But he wasn't really the Crossbone from the comics.
No. And I really don't know his background. I don't know his backstory. That's something I need to explore.
Yeah. I don't know I don't know much about his backstory either, to be honest with you.
Right. Huh.
But he's a cool looking character. He's also my favorite character in the Marvel Champions game.
Oh, nice.
Because after a certain amount of rounds, he blows up. He's
like Bane. You know what I mean?
Kind of. Yeah, I always called him my Bane on that game. I'm like, come on, Bane.
Yeah. No, I've had the I do have his like I just really, and it's not because his first name is Brock,
Or is it?
Yeah, Brock Rumlow. But I think, isn't Bane's real name? No.
Brock Sampson?
I don't know. But yeah, I would love to see him in like Daredevil. I'd love to see him in, some Black Widow stuff. I'd love to see him kind of always be that. Him and Taskmaster would be a cool team up, of villains.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that would be
That's funny that you say that, because going into my number 5, this is a character that actually teamed up with Taskmaster a lot. There's like a whole story arc with the two of them. like working together. Unless you have more to say about Crossbones.
No, not at all. Not at all. Go for it.
So my number 5 is a character that I really like the design of when the right artist does it. And that's Frank Payne from Marvel, the original Constrictor.
Okay.
And if you don't know anything about Constrictor, he's basically a Spider-Man villain. Is where I originally remember him from. But he was a SHIELD agent. And
really?
Yeah. And I think that they didn't start it that way. Like they said that they did stuff to his mind so he didn't remember it or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he was given that's where he got his original outfit from. His Constrictor outfit. He went undercover with the corporation, which was like the evil baddies, right? But he went undercover, and then he like lost himself in that somehow. But I was just reading actually that his first appearance was actually in the Hulk, but I do not remember him much as a Hulk villain, as I do. I think Captain America, Spider-Man.
Yeah,
those were the ones I remember.
Wasn't he part of the Serpent Society?
No, he was invited and turned it down because he was more of a mercenary,
But they did have a Constrictor on that team, though.
Yeah, he worked with them, I know, in one storyline, and that's where they asked him to join, and he said no. But I like his character. So if you don't know, Constrictor has a suit that's like armored in the front and on the head, which looks like the belly of a constrictor, kind of like a boa constrictor, kind of. But his big deal is he has these ports on his costume that shoots out like I think it's like up to 30 foot. Yeah, originally it was adamantium.
Wow.
Tentacles, I guess you would say. And he could, wrap people up in them. And I like picked up really heavy stuff and throw it, and
right.
Wrap around. And one of the coolest pictures I remember of this dude was he was like hanging upside down in a Marvel Comics Presents by those tendrils or whatever,
right,
and just looked badass. And I was like, okay. And that's the last story I remember of him getting his own. Really was like a 90s Marvel Comic Presents.
Yeah.
And he had his own little arc in that for, 4 or 5 issues. You know how they do. Eventually, like, I remember those got replaced, the adamantium. I don't remember what happened to the adamantium. There was a story. I don't remember it. But it was vibranium that they replaced it with. And that had a weird effect because if he wrapped it around someone's neck, the vibranium wouldn't let them scream.
Does it absorb the vibration?
Absorb the sound, yeah.
Huh. And he was the one that came out in The Incredible Hulk, right?
Right.
From 77, created by Len Wein?
Yes. Len Wein, the greatest creator of comic book characters ever, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Come on. Yeah. No. And it does say he was part of the Serpent Society.
He was never a part of the actual group. Like, he was never, like, initiated or whatever. Because when they offered it to him, he's like, nope. But he did work with them.
Huh. Yeah. Because they have him listed. They have Asp, Diamondback, the Constrictor, the Cobra, Princess Python, the Viper, the Rattler, Cottonmouth, and Bushmaster. But yeah, no, God, he would be a pretty badass. I think a lot of those characters that were in that part of it are pretty cool. They could, if they did a Hydra, like another kind of Hydra back to roots type of a deal, that would be cool to have him and King Cobra and shit like that part of it,
Right. Yeah. So when they did the Initiative, do you remember that portion of Marvel? Where they basically gave
maybe
it was when Norman Osborn, I believe, took over took over after what was that? He saved the day and ended up becoming like the head of and replaced Shield with Hammer, kind of like Dark Avengers style. But I think this was like right before all that. But the initiative was like every state had its own state superheroes.
Ah.
The 50-state initiative.
That's weird. Yeah.
But he was involved in that. And I think that's when him and Taskmaster really kind of became friends. You know what I mean? And there was even like, I remember there was like some story where like shit started going crazy and they left. They were like, we're out together. Which those two together would be a great, that would be a good fight for just about anybody. You know what I mean?
Right.
Short of cosmic powers and things, you know.
No, he'd be pretty cool because he's got the vibranium, the adamantium. He's pretty skilled, you know?
Yeah.
He doesn't have to be part of a team.
He knows how to fight, you know?
Right. Which they kind of, no, they really didn't. But, you know, having Shocker and stuff like that as kind of like that character in the MCU, you know, Shocker was always around, just like Constrictor and everything like that. But, you know, he's one of those characters that's kind of getting his due. I don't think he was ever really as big as like the other Spider-Man villains, but
yeah, I would definitely use the original Constrictor too. I think the one that's out there now is his son, but the backstory of Frank Payne is actually pretty decent. You know what I mean? Once you get into the fact that he was like actually a SHIELD agent, you know, and all that.
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure that was probably a newer retcon, you know?
Yeah.
Like they do with everything.
Of course.
But yeah, that's my number 5, Constrictor.
That's a good one. I would like to see more of him in things. That's pretty awesome. Number 4 for me is Batroc.
We just got him in the old Captain America Winter Soldier or Falcon Winter Soldier show, right?
Yep.
And he was in one of the Captain America movies as well, right?
Yes. Okay. Seeing him at the beginning of Winter Soldier was like awesome.
Yeah.
Because that was freaking Batroc the Leaper.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It was really him, cocky and fucking a piece of shit, but yet like totally fucking badass. The way what is it? Georges Saint Pierre, you know? Whatever his name is.
GSP.
Yeah. He's fucking badass.
Yeah.
And seeing him in the very first part of fucking Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Damn.
Agreed.
You know, I really love the character. I think that, you know, he's a merc with like, I don't know, he's got morals. So he doesn't want to kill pretty much anybody, right. But yet he'll do anything to win. And he's like, so he's really good. So like his, what is it? His abilities. He's a French kickboxer, Olympic level athlete and weightlifter. And that's pretty much it.
Badass though.
But yet he holds his fucking own.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he won't take shit off of anybody. And then also at the same time, he's like, don't tell me what to do.
Tell me how to live my life.
He's teamed up with so many different people too, the swordsman, things like that. But he's another one of those characters that's just been around since like Tales of Suspense, Captain America's,
right?
All the way back in like 66 or some shit like that. So he's consistently been in the world. I don't know if he's ever got his own series. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think so. Like not the one that I can remember anyways.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool, you know?
Absolutely. Well, and like you said, he's a good one to like team up with other mercenaries and things, you know?
Right.
So you could have that would be kind of a cool show in and of itself, just one based on a group of mercenaries that live within the Marvel universe. Have to deal with those
Crossbones.
People, you know?
Yeah. Actually having to be part of that. Yeah, that would be just like super awesome. Almost kind of like Suicide Squad, but better.
Yeah, because they're still just doing their own thing. Nobody's controlling them. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. They actually can have a team and they kind of go through everything. But it would be cool to see a 12-issue miniseries with that.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That would be an awesome set of books, just to see the team form, the team die, everything like that, go up and down, and then at the very first comic, you kind of the first 4, you kind of introduce your characters and everybody gets together. 5, everybody forms, bam. 6 and 7, you're fighting your big bad all the way up until you get to like 11, and then you're kind of wrapping everything up. You solve everything, and then 12, everything's gone. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's kind of like it was
12's the prologue.
If it's just planned that way, and
Right.
I think you can get a lot of run out of that stuff, which would be really cool.
Absolutely,
just a lot of ideas, a lot of really cool differences. With it would almost be like a Thunderbolts,
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think they would have their own motivation. So again, like I feel even with the Thunderbolts, everybody had their individual motivation to some degree, but they were pretty well controlled. You know what I mean? So by old Norman Osborn there.
Well, you know what though? I just had this idea. It could be instead of heroes for hire, it would be villains for hire, right?
Oh, there you go.
So they're all they eventually are like, oh yeah, we could do this. Why don't they hire our group of 4? We each
Didn't they do something like that in a fairly recent Deadpool where he had like a merc team?
Probably.
Of like oddballs, you know what I mean? And I may be wrong. But I kind of remember, and then maybe it wasn't recent. Who the hell knows?
There was also Batrocc's Brigade.
Yeah.
Not cool.
Not cool at all.
But I think that would be really cool to kind of have some of those secondary villains, not necessarily doing a Sinister Six type of a deal, but more like Luke Cage and Iron Fist. It's like, fuck it.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's get paid to get jobs. You know what I mean? We could do it.
Then we get the khakis, and then we get the girls.
If we get the khakis, then we get the girls. But yeah, that was my number 4 is Batroc.
Awesome. That's a good one, man, for sure. My number 4, and I just so we're all very clear, I do not have an order set for these. But my number 4 is this is probably one of my favorite villains, to be honest, and well before Deadpool was all cool and everything. But his name is Madcap. And let me tell you, this dude is awesome. So originally, like when I remember seeing him originally was in a Captain America comic, so it's weird that we've had a couple of those already, right?
Right.
Madcap wears like a pretty garish yellow and purple outfit and like a big pompadour hat. And he carries a bubble gun. The bubble gun like does absolutely nothing. But for the longest time, I remember Cap, or I don't remember if it was Cap or the Avengers, but they thought that the bubbles were the ones causing the hallucinations in people. But one of his powers is he can create hallucinations in people around him.
Ah, that's actually pretty cool.
Super cool, right? But it was cool that they thought that the source of it was the bubble gun, you know what I mean? And not like an innate power.
Oh, so he used that as his like his guffin.
Yeah, kind of. But this dude, okay, not only does he have that part, he has a healing factor that is like Deadpool style healing factor. Well before Deadpool was a dude, right? Like he's tried to commit suicide like a bazillion times and he can't do it, you know, that kind of a deal. But he is just crazy, dude. I mean, it's just crazy. It goes with his name, Madcap. You know what I mean? He is nuts. And I just remember that's where. So he has been in a recent comic, and it was that Deadpool one I was just talking about. No wonder it was present in my mind. It was called Merc for Money.
Oh.
That was their Mercs for Money. That was their group. But I always thought it was really crazy. Like, I remember him. Oh, who was it? It was Cap and somebody else fighting him, and it was just madness. You know what I mean? Like,
by Robotnik's ancestor Gerald, captured by the military, then eventually freed by Robotnik to.
What the fuck was that?
What just happened? Did we just get hacked by Putin?
No, that was a goddamn fucking advertisement on the interwebs when I was looking up your guy.
Oh, gotcha.
Jesus Christ.
Turn
Anyway.
the volume down some.
No shit.
But yeah, just a super crazy, cool character. Weird, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I remember a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, writing a story like there was like, well, what it was like on a forum or something, you know what I mean? Of a bunch of comic book nerds like myself. And this is like way back in the day, like probably 2004, you know?
Jesus.
Yeah.
You're old.
The olden days. 2005, something like that. And it was like talking about what character you would want to be. And I was like, I would be Madcap. 100% be Madcap. And I would get to work every day by diving out of my like 30-story window onto the L train, like in the front of it, and have it just smash me and take me to work. You know what I mean? Like every day would be an adventure, dude, because you can't die. You can't die. So you just got to come up with something new, a new, different, weird ass way to get everywhere, you know? Try it all. So,
yeah. Fucking Punxsutawney Phil in that shit.
That's right. And I always thought that would be a cool, like, the worst case scenario. Let's say you're just broke and destitute, right? If I can create hallucinations, I'm getting paid.
Oh, hell yeah.
Getting paid. People will just come and give me money to hang out.
Yeah.
I'd be like a emotional drug dealer.
Yeah, so what do you want, man? what kind of fear you got?
But I always thought that guy was really cool, and definitely back in the day, underused. I did forget about him being in that Deadpool deal.
Right.
But I think that was pretty short run.
He was also in a couple of Ghost Riders too. He's kind of he's been around.
Oh yeah, he's been around for a minute.
Yeah, he was in Daredevil 234. Yeah, Ghost Rider, a lot of Deadpools. I think Deadpool's kind of like his main.
Now that Deadpool's become what Deadpool is, you know what I mean? Deadpool wasn't that when he was back in the day. He was just a badass assassin. You know what I mean? He wasn't all jokey chokey at the beginning. Even though I like, no hate on Deadpool. I'm a fan. But,
yeah.
But yeah, that's my number 4, man. Madcap.
That's a really good one. That's a unusual one because I really haven't seen a lot of him. Not in hardly anything, but he's again been around. He hasn't been. I think his first appearance was Captain America 307.
Yeah, that sounds right.
From 85.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. The bubblegum thing is kind of weird, but
that's what I loved about him. He's so fucking wacky, and you could take him whatever direction you want. You know what I mean? Because he's so wacky that your interaction with him might be completely different the first time than it is the second time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Weird mood he's in.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good number. That was number 4, right?
That was number 4.
Cool.
Number
do you
1?
have any more?
Have
any more about? Okay.
No, I think that's enough. I could bore you with stories, but I'm not gonna.
Because my number 3 is a villain called Nightmare.
Oh, Marvel Nightmare.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't really have any DC villains on here. Only Marvels.
Oh, I've got some DC. My most wanted to see one is definitely a DC one. So when we get to that.
Okay. Well, I mean, Nightmare, just the way that he gets into your dreams and he can pretty much project exactly what you want, but yet he can run your body outside. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he can control absolutely positively everybody if he wanted to, if he could get into their nightmares, which was really cool in the Mark Waid run of the early 2000s of, Captain America 2.
Mhm.
Most of my villains come from Captain America comics. But he was tapping into the American dream.
Right.
And he was giving these people everything that they wanted. And, he even infected Captain America at one point. But yet he was also part in Doctor Strange,
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I remember him the most from Doctor Strange.
And I actually seeked out this one comic. It was a Ghost Rider that had him in it.
Oh, I could see
I was like,
that.
holy shit. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And
he's
I
that
think,
kind of character. He's like, his deal is he's from another realm, right? The realm of dreams or something.
Yes.
That's his deal. And he feeds
called?
off nightmares.
The dream dimension.
Yes. The dream dimension.
I could see him really going toe to toe with Doctor Strange and Ghost Rider. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, he's, kind of been in Spider-Man, Wolverine, the Hulk.
Yeah.
So, really, really cool character, really cool look, really just absurd idea too. Just really I don't know.
I think we'll see him sooner than later in the Doctor Strange stories, to be honest with you.
Think so?
I do.
Think so?
I think that there's been some thought put out there in the world that he may have something to do. Remember in the new Doctor Strange trailer where they're he talks about having the same dream every night?
Oh, yeah.
And she says, me too, and it's a nightmare or something like that. So a lot of people are thinking that maybe that was going to introduce him. I don't know that that's true at all, but it makes sense as they progress. If they're going to have Dormammu, Nightmare would be on that list. You know what I mean?
Yes, he would be part of that group. Yeah. Right. That's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would actually be pretty cool.
It would be awesome. And I think that, again, you could tie it in kind of like you were saying, even if you went with, I don't know if I'd go with the American Dream story. Right off the bat by any means, but you could definitely use him in a Doctor Strange. People are, what was the one with the kids where he was, he had all these kids that were in a hospital or something, you know what I mean? And took control of them somehow through their nightmares. They gave him power or something. And I think that was a Strange story where Strange ended up stopping him. That's a murky memory. So sorry about that.
No. Yeah, no, exactly. I don't know. I think he's actually been in some superhero squads.
Oh, really?
Ultimate Spider-Man animated series voiced by Mark Hamill.
Oh, nice. Well, that'd be a good one to voice him for sure.
Yeah. He seems kind of like a Joker, but not really. He's more sinister.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think you can get more sinister than Joker, but invading your dreams and shit like
more
that. More
powerful, that's for sure, on a different level, you know what I mean, than the Joker. It's like if the Joker had crazy ass cosmic powers. Yeah,
he can get into everybody's mind.
He's in your mind.
He's in my brain. There's wasps in here. So that's my number 3 is Nightmare.
That's a good one.
So
that's a good one for sure. Again, in no particular order, this is probably one of the, I'll save that one. Hold on. So I'm going to go with, for my number 3, correct? That's the number we're on?
Yes.
Okay. Is the Sin Eater.
Mm-hmm.
I've always liked that character. His design's nothing special. He just wears a green, stocking cap with the holes in the eyes.
He looks like a beachhead.
Kind of, yeah, absolutely. But what's cool is that he really believes that he's purifying the sins from the world. And there is a point where he's really doing that. It was a Spider-Man story, and it was really good. He was kind of the pawn of another baddie in that one. But man, could you imagine I'm gonna take you a different direction with this, okay? What if you could do it as a movie. You could do it as you wouldn't necessarily be Disney Plus unless they do that mature rating.
Mm-hmm.
But everything's from his point of view, right? Once again, this is another character. I don't know why I'm drawn to characters that used to be SHIELD agents, but it happens.
Right.
Because he was
right.
as well. I remember because he got enhanced strength. He got powers, sort of like they. I don't know if they did like a program, like not super soldier, but something like that.
Yeah.
But after that happened, he kind of went crazy a little bit. You know what I mean? And became like super violent. So now he just goes out and hunts bad people. He really does hunt bad people. They're not good guys that he's killing.
Mm-hmm.
But at one point, he actually could absolve them of their sins by shooting them with his gun. And that's the play I would make, right?
Yeah.
But then he has all that bad whatever, the sins, and he can release those on other people.
Yeah.
So I like that storyline, and that was from that Spider-Man thing. But I think that he's a complex character from the beginning. Like, there's a lot you can dig in with his backstory. Like, there's a lot about him, like losing his partner. You know what I mean? Like those kind of things where you could build like a very what do I want to say? A very robust backstory, especially if you're taking it from his point of view, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then here's how I would do it. I would have him doing his thing, and he thinks he's doing the work, and then have a street level Marvel character show up and be his antagonist, but it's a hero.
Yeah.
To me, I think one of the perfect people. Spider-Man's always kind of been one of his, people, but I would put Daredevil in there just because of his Catholicism. You know what I mean? I think that on some level they would connect.
That would be an awesome story. Yeah, that would be an awesome story.
And I don't really remember the first time I ever saw Sin Eater. It had to be in like late 80s, early 90s kind of a thing. 90s got gritty.
Yeah.
So that's probably where I saw him, to be real honest. But I've always liked the idea. And I like that they furthered that, where he was actually able to do that. And now you could make it something completely different.
The very first one that I saw him in was a Spectacular Spider-Man. And it was number 136. I had that one because I really, really, really liked it. And I loved the way he looked. And I always thought that, the spider symbol that was on him was part of it. And it was like, no, it's not. I
think Spider-Man was the first time I saw him, but I think it was maybe a couple, like 3, 4 issues story arc. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it was one of the ones that had something to do with the gangs fighting against each other. Remember that was always happening in the Spider-Man comic back in the late 80s, early 90s. There's always a gang war going on.
Yeah, there's always something happening like that.
Damn you, Hammerhead.
See, about that time too, that's, the Spectacular Spider-Mans of those years. What year was that? Shit. I don't know. I don't remember what year the 136 came out, but I mean, there was Electro that was really big in that time too. Sure. That's where I really got to know Electro. And then, pretty much just the rest of his Rogues Gallery at that point was really coming out. And Sin Eater was just like, I don't know. He just looked enigmatic and just looked really fucking cool,
Yeah.
Plus he was crazy as a freaking loon.
Yeah, I think they're
but-
sensing a pattern. I like really crazy characters.
Yeah.
The wackier, the better. All right.
But yeah, I mean, it's really cool. For some reason, back in 2017, somebody said the Sin Eater was actually going to join Daredevil season 3. I'm like,
that didn't happen.
No.
I always kind of like his character in the stories. Kind of reminded me of the Scourge. Do you remember that character? It's not a character I'm going to talk about, but he was a street level Marvel character, and he wore all white. I think I remember, and he would just go kill bad guys, like just kill them,
Yeah.
And of course, Peter Parker can't let that happen.
Hell no.
Yeah, so that's kind of
Peter Porker can either.
No, not the Spider Ham.
Not the Spider Hamses.
You got the Spider Hams?
No, that's Sin Eater was, I thought about Sin Eater, and I know I kind of mentioned it a little bit, because of, what was it? How did that come out? I don't know. It was one of the people that I picked, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, Sin Eater, and then you were like, oh, yeah,
in your heroes, maybe.
Yeah, I kind of
see.
mentioned a little bit in my heroes and was like, oops.
Yeah, I'm a big Sin Eater guy. I like him.
Yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Hell yeah. It's a badass number 3. That was your number 3, right?
That was my number 3. Number 3.
Cool.
Number 3.
You have any more about Sin Eater?
No, I think that's enough. I'm not going to, without like getting into, I don't want to really jump into like deep cuts. Like I'm not telling a story. I'm giving you mine. You can go look it up. Read it yourself.
Yeah. Go look it up. You'll see it.
Yeah. We'll talk about it, but I'm not going to give you the whole story. It gives you something to go look up and play around with.
Right. Kind of come up with your own story.
Yeah. And then you can be like, man, I'm glad I looked at that. I guess. I don't know. Maybe you won't.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know. So my number 2 is a Spider-Man villain.
Okay.
Hobgoblin.
Ned Leeds?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the original Hobgoblin was like freaking badass, but yet most of his stories, it wasn't really him.
Yeah, he was always like Green Goblin was there. It was like, hey, we got 2 goblins. You're gonna fight about it.
Right.
Goblin-y guy.
Yeah. But every story that he was in, it was like freaking terrifying. He was a badass. So
absolutely,
really seeing him, I don't know. It would be crazy to see him be like a very, very major villain, and maybe even have the different versions of hobgoblins everywhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
And somehow that works with him.
Yeah.
And maybe if they did kind of like a series where they're introducing Hobgoblin, and then I don't know, it would have to, it could grow. I think that his character could get really freaking cool. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I read something fairly recently. I don't know if it was, Spider-Man killed him. Like right off the bat, like it was a sideways story, like a what if or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
That kind of a deal. And again, I think that the problem with his character is that it was always overshadowed by Green Goblin.
Always.
It always felt like there was kind of a knockoff, I guess. But I always thought I liked his design better. You know what I mean? He looked more menacing to me. I thought the Green Goblin was kind of silly.
It's the green and the.
It's like Greedo's coming after me. Shit. It's the truck from Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah. Yeah. Except for he's not green anymore.
Right.
But you know what? I don't know why that they're saying, honestly, that this new Ned Leeds could be Hobgoblin. I really don't see it.
Maybe. I mean, you could do anything you want, I guess.
He could take on his persona, but or his name, but I don't think it could really. I don't know if that guy could be Hobgoblin, you know? But, I mean, he's just pretty much a different colored Green Goblin with more smoke. You know what I mean?
He's got more smoke.
He's got more smoke.
Didn't he end up making a deal with a demon, though, or something?
Uh-huh.
Like later on?
Did.
Yeah, but no, I'm pretty sure it was Hobgoblin. Well, I think Green Goblin has done that now, too. But I think originally it was Hobgoblin that did that, and he had more... I don't want to say supernatural powers because it wasn't really, but like some supernatural ties. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. No. But also too, like somehow he would always be like pulling the strings on the other hobgoblins too. You know, no matter where he was at, they always kind of alluded like he was there, kind of pushing everything too. You know?
Right.
Which is kind of crazy. You know? And then, yeah, of course, I think he could really fit in with another kind of more supernatural type of a villain, like Nightmare or something like that, kind of in there.
Right.
Somebody really fucking scary, and not just like, Spider-Man, you know?
Right. Yeah, got you this time, buddy.
I'll get you, Spider-Man. Well, you know, everybody loves Hobgoblin, honestly. So there's not much else to say. I think he's very underutilized.
Agreed.
You know?
Agreed. He is kind of a knockoff character of Green Goblin, but I just think aesthetically he's cooler.
Yeah.
Cooler.
Oh yeah. I think he could do like really cool. I mean, some of the I don't know. It's just like some of the comics are so iconic to see him in them. And of course, I don't know. It's just really cool.
Agreed.
I think he's a really cool freaking villain.
Yeah. I don't disagree.
Okay.
And that was your number 2?
That was my number deuce.
All right. I'm going to flip over to the DC world now with my number 2. So the character, and it's not, he's been in a movie. He's been in some stories, but he's never like the main guy in the stories. And that's Victor Zazz. I love the character. I love how like just evil, you know what I mean? And he's got a decent backstory. I think again, that was something where they went back and changed it, you know, or at least told you more about it. Like how he was like a rich, he owned his own international company kind of a deal. His parents died. He went to kill himself, and some homeless guy or something tried to attack him. And so he killed the dude with the knife that the guy pulled on him. And then from then on, just started killing people. And he puts, you know, like a mark on his skin every time he kills one of them with his knife.
Right.
But I think if you did that, so here's my pitch, and you could do this with especially the new Batman movies, right? With Pattinson. And you make it more like a very much how the first one was, detective-y. You know what I mean? More of a detective story.
Right, because he is a serial killer.
Right. So he's got to track this guy down, just a normal serial killer.
Yeah.
Not normal, but you know what I mean. And you could have his whole tie into Arkham Asylum in that. You know what I mean? Because he's a regular member of Arkham Asylum.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that when they reconstructed Arkham Asylum, he actually paid the contractor, made a deal with the contractor for a tunnel to be built to his cell.
Huh.
Yeah. So he
could just get out whenever he wants to, and then be like, "Oh, I got to go back."
Yeah,
they're serving chili tonight.
It's chili night, guys. Better clean this blood off of me. But I think that he would be a good foil, especially for a young Batman.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Right,
and
right.
I really always thought that a good story for him would be like he's the first half of a Batman movie.
Yeah, no, I could see that because it's more detective work. because he would have to figure out, because I mean, he's just not like he's a calculated killer, so he's not just,
he's not, well, he does freak out every now and again. You're right. He is calculated. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He doesn't like just put it out there, You just find people dead.
Right. Well, like you said, it'd be the first half. I don't know. They could do a whole deal of it, but yet it'd have to be a weird dichotomy of, he couldn't slip up and it has to seem random, but yet Batman has to figure out, that the randomness is calculated. You know what I'm saying?
So here's what, I agree with that. But I think making it the first half or even 3/4 of a movie, because here's how you change, or make it a full story, is your subplots would have to do with Arkham Asylum, which hasn't really been introduced totally yet. We've seen the Riddler and the Joker in there, right? So then you get into like maybe a Hugo Strange being the main bad.
There we go.
Running Arkham Asylum. You know what I mean? And so maybe this first half is of him taking down Zazz and he gets put in Arkham Asylum. Come to find out Hugo Strange has been releasing people from Arkham Asylum for whatever experiment he's working on. Right. So then, he has to take down Hugo Strange, which is another villain that I think is way underused. And he's, shit. Hey there, buddy.
Hey, what's up? What happened?
My phone died. Because normally I have it plugged in when we do these, but I just got home, so all my chargers and everything were up in my bag. So I've just been recording the whole time. So there's be a big blank spot in there.
Cool.
Yeah, that was my number 2.
That was your number 2.
Victor Zazz.
Okay. My number 1.
Number 1.
I think he is one of the most awesome characters that you could ever think up in your brain. I don't know. He's badass. Omega Red.
Oh, Omega Red's great.
God, Omega Red would be so. I don't know. He's just he is one of my favorite bad guys of all time. He's just fucking awesome.
So what would you do with him? Well, first of all, let's talk about him. Let's talk about who Omega Red is. So Omega Red was a super soldier from Russia, right? Or an attempt at a super soldier, the Weapon X or whatever from Russia, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And he had a crazy headband with an Omega symbol on it and big old hair coming out of it because 90s. But he had those tentacle things, those whatever those things are. Not tentacles. They weren't tentacles.
They're called carbonadium retractable tentacles.
So they were tentacles.
Yeah.
Carbonadium was the metal they were made out of. I remember that.
Yeah. And his name was Arkady Grigorovich Rosovich. He was a serial killer born in Soviet Russia. He was captured by the Interpol agent Sean Cassidy and turned over to the KGB. And they wanted to experiment and attempt to create a super soldier similar to Captain America. Omega Red is the result.
Absolutely.
Now
what's his power? Doesn't he suck the life force out of people with those things?
Yeah, he's got life force absorption. Of course, excellent hand-to-hand combat, military tactician, criminal organizer, superhuman strength, speed, agility, stamina, durability. He's like Captain America, except for you just add the tentacles,
And that life-draining essence thing.
Right.
Because he's a mutant.
Right.
Yeah, that's where
100%.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's so fucking crazy. I don't know. I remember seeing him in those early 90s comics, and it was like, oh my God, this dude is freaking so awesome.
Super cool. Super. Yeah, he's a great villain. He's got the evil side, kind of like Sabretooth. No regrets. You know what I mean?
No regrets.
He's been a major character in a recent X-Men run.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The 10 Deaths of Wolverine and the 10 Lives of Wolverine, which was comics that at the very end came together. But Wolverine was traveling through time, basically defending Charles Xavier's line from Omega Red, who was going back in time trying to kill Charles Xavier.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Damn. But man, I could see some cool stories with him for sure.
Fucking Omega Red is just mean. Being a former serial killer and shit like that, I mean, the dude was just fucking badass, man.
Absolutely.
I mean, it seems like, I don't know, he would eat you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That run of X-Men, of course, the most popular comic book ever, X-Men #1. Sure. The highest selling. That's the premier mark to hit. You know what I mean? But those first 5 issues or 6 or just the whole first year was just fucking great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I don't know. I haven't seen him as much as I would like to. Really.
That's fair.
It'd be cool to see him in some of the newer stuff. In newer MCUs.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I think that would be a really, really, really cool deal. Yeah.
I think that his character, like, not even his character. So he was a serial killer, tried to be made into a super soldier. That's all cool. And I think that lays a really good basis for his characteristics. But his power set is super cool. And visually, like, again, my head always goes to, something live action, movie style or whatever. Disney Plus, I don't care. But visually, I think they would look really cool. You know what I mean? With those tendrils and being able to, I just think he's a cool character.
Hell yeah.
Being able to drain the life out of people. And that's how he survives, right? Almost like energy vampire, if you will.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. And, that issue wherever they're kind of going back in time too, when Wolverine was still Weapon X, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like he had just got out of Weapon X Academy with like Maverick and shit. I always thought that whole little line was pretty cool, kind of explaining that and then showing him in the past, but then showing him in the fucking future and he's even more badass.
Right.
That's fucking cool as shit. I mean, Omega Red's a badass. So yeah, that's why he's my number one.
That's a good number one, sir, for sure.
Yes.
All right. You ready for a number one? So I had somebody really in mind for my number one, but I'm putting this person in my honorable mentions. Like it was the first person that came to my mind. And there's a reason why, and we'll get to that in a minute. But my actual number one is a man that's made 1 2-minute appearance in a DC movie. It's probably one of my favorite villains of all time. I believe he had a comic book run for about 60, 65 issues. But he's been the main villain for a lot of folks, specifically the Teen Titans. But I think of him more like a Batman villain, or just a villain in general, and that's Deathstroke the Terminator.
Yeah.
I love this. I love his character. I love his backstory is good. Like he was just a soldier, and then he got brought into a unit because I mean this is early stuff like in Korea, like when the story came out, like he was fighting in Korea, and then because Vietnam was getting ready to happen, he ended up in a special unit where they were teaching different styles of fighting and things, and his instructor ended up becoming his wife. Like they fell in love.
Really?
Yeah. And then he ended up having an experiment done on him, which gave him the ability to use 90% of his brain's capacity.
Damn.
And he's stronger, than a regular human. He regenerates, not like as fast as Deadpool silliness. You know what I mean? Like it takes him a minute, but he does regenerate, which is weird because his eye's all jacked up. So I don't know why that doesn't regenerate. But man, just a super cool character. I don't like his original like weird boots. He had the fold over boots that were real big in the 70s, but they're like really long fold over boots. So you're like,
they're like pirate boots.
Yeah, kind of, but weirder. But like as far as like a pure fighter goes, I mean he is just awesome. Like he can take on gangs of people, gangs of heroes even, you know what I mean?
Dang.
And there was an animated movie that came out a couple years ago. I think I talked about it on the show called I think it's like Dragons and Castles or something like that, and so don't hold me to that, but it gave a lot of his backstory, and how like his kid became mute because of him. Because like he was going out, like his wife thought that he was running business, whatever the hell he was doing, but really he was taking on these mercenary jobs. And somebody came after him and like took his kid, And I remember they had like a knife up against his throat, and whatever he did, the kid's throat actually got cut, and then he became immune. I think that was Jericho, because he was super powered as well.
Wow.
But you could even play on that story, if you wanted to. He's got a rich background.
Yeah.
Rich background.
That's pretty cool. That's DC. I'm still kind of getting into the full world of DC, so I don't really know as much as I do for Marvel. So that's kind of where I really ended with Marvel. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, so my honorable mention, the first person I thought of when we were doing this, and it's kind of weird because a long time ago we did a mashup story and it had both these people in it actually, and that was Taskmaster.
Yeah.
But the original Taskmaster.
Yes.
I did not mind what they did in Black Widow, and I'm not saying that, but that character is too awesome to have that be the only version of him.
Yeah,
and you
sit
could
on the sidelines.
And you could play off of it, right? That he was the inspiration for what the other guy was doing with the Taskmaster technology. So you could still keep all that canon.
Yeah.
Because his Taskmaster, of course, his big deal is that he has photogenic reflexes.
Yes.
So if he sees anybody do a move or use a weapon or do anything, he can automatically do it. But the backstory to that is really cool because he was a good guy. He ended up taking some experimental serum because he's like, yep, I want to be more powerful. But because he has that photogenic memory, his regular memories disappear as he learns those things.
Oh, okay.
So, like his big contact, what was her name? It ends up that it's his wife, basically. Like the person he's always talking to,
Okay.
And she has to like go through some pretty rigorous things to like get his memory back that he's even knows that he's married.
Oh.
Like when it gets so far, you know what I mean?
Right.
So you play off that too, and I think that's an awesome story. Not only it lends depth to that character.
Yeah, big time. They could very easily introduce him into the Disney Plus stories by having him having a version of him actually training U.S. agent.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Because that's he trained him anyway, in the comic books.
He trained a lot of people in the comic books.
Yeah,
because he's badass.
Yeah, he could train everybody like that. Yeah.
Well, and I think we talked about this at one time. Like his first appearance that I remember was like it was before like issue 200 of Avengers, and he fought all the Avengers pretty much, and held his own.
Yeah,
and that's saying something right there.
Yeah, that's a badass. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just like Omega Red. Omega Red can take on pretty much anybody in everything because he took on pretty much all the X-Men in that first appearance too. Yep. So,
which I think is kind of the way of comics in some degree. It's like when they first encounter it's like a level in a video game.
Yes.
The first time you do it, it's really hard.
Yeah, but then after that,
the third time you do it, you're like, okay, I can just run through this. It doesn't even matter. You know what I mean?
Right.
I feel that very much with characters that they introduce, specifically villains.
Yes.
But again, I think both those, and I'm kind of using my 1A and 1B for those two characters because I think they're great characters, and I would obviously like to see more. I wrote a story about it. You know what I mean?
Right. No, my honorable mentions really, of course, Scorpion.
Yeah.
From Spider-Man. Spider-Man always has really cool villains, Scorpion was a badass.
Isn't it weird that they're all like animal related though?
Yeah.
I mean, besides the goblins, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But you have like Dr. Octopus, Scorpion, Rhino, Constrictor.
Yeah. I always thought he was really cool. And then you also have Mr. Hyde. Oh, Mr. Hyde is like a very, very underutilized character, but he's very, very fucking vicious. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
he's like a Solomon Grundy in DC, but he's like a Jekyll and Hyde type of a deal, and he wears the Hyde, jacket,
Yeah.
big coat, with the cape on the coat,
Right.
Always thought he was really cool. What I would really honestly put in both of these together, and this is one guy that I kind of I did mention last time, but Ulysses Bloodstone.
Absolutely. And I think that Elsa Bloodstone would be a good person for the heroes list that we did if we did not mention that.
Exactly. That's I just saw my note for it and I was like, damn, I missed that opportunity. but to have like kind of like a really long through time story, you know what I mean?
Right.
He's like a fucking Highlander. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's like Vandal Savage kind of.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome,
Yeah.
But yeah, those are my top 5 underused villains. It'd be 5 would be Crossbones, 4 would be Batroc, 3 would be Nightmare, 2 would be Hobgoblin, and 1 Omega Red.
There you go. I did Constrictor, Madcap, Victor Zazz. I feel like there was one more. Oh, Sin Eater. That was my third. Victor
Nice.
Zazz, and then Deathstroke / Taskmaster. Best villains ever.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion. My humble opinion.
In my humble opinion. Yeah. These are the guys that I like, I these are the ones that really left a major impression on me whenever I was really young. So, just like US Agent, Deathlock, most of the people that I picked are the ones that kind of made me like really happy to be a kid and reading comic books.
Yeah, absolutely.
Heroes and villains. I was like, oh man, that's awesome. And then, a couple of them have kind of come up later in my life, to where I'm like, you know what? They're fucking even more badass, and it's mainly the DC stuff again, learning that history, learning that world is way awesome. So I'm getting those same feelings whenever I was a kid, looking at those being like, oh man, I can't wait.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's a lot of deep cut villains that I'd like to see. There's a Marvel guy named Deathstalker. He was originally called something else. That was a cool character. Oh, the Exterminator. That's what it was. But he would be a cool character. Like, he's kind of weird because he can, like, he's changed over time. Like, when he was originally the Exterminator, he used like his own ray gun kind of thing that he had, right? So he could basically like he could displace people to another realm, like a interdimensional void.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
But then he I don't remember how it happened, but he ended up becoming like where he almost lived in a little pocket dimension close to Earth. And he could come in and out, and he had like these death grip weapons that were like under his gloves. He kills the folks with the microwaves.
Microwaves! No, turn off your cell phone. There's so much radiation in it. Yeah, that would be my number 1 villain. Technology.
Gluten.
Gluten and technology.
Dairy products. My pancreas.
Lactose. The lactose monster. It's like Batman like grabs a glass of milk and he's on a job and he's like really slinking around, he's trying to do that walking with the wind shit, you know what I mean?
Right.
Walking against the wind, and then he just blows a massive fart.
And then Captain America comes and kicks his ass because he fights against intolerance, lactose or otherwise.
Yeah, Batman's trying to pull that deal on like
Gordon.
Gordon, but then he like gets halfway through it and it's like,
oh, that gave me away.
That's how you get away. God damn it. So somebody figures it out.
He's like the wind.
Batman's lactose intolerance.
That's it. Well, that's why he takes the Pepto or whatever you take for lactose intolerance. I don't know what.
Yeah, it's the first in a 4-issue series of Batman taking medications.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh shit, I got a thyroid problem now.
It's because he took that venom for so long.
Yes. Yeah.
Caused a
He's got
thyroid issue.
He's he's got to have a donut on the bat seat because he's got bad himmies.
Having a hard time getting out in the car.
So,
put in the back
God.
catheter. It's gonna be a long trip.
It's going to be a long trip, so don't mind me, Robin, but we're going to have to stop at least 4 times on the way to the crime.
No, it's okay, Robin. We're good. I got all my bat depends. Did you just see Batman? He's got like the bulky ass.
He's all, do I? Yeah. Do I look like I'm bloated?
Robin's just like, shut up, bitch.
No. Man. Gluten intolerance. But yeah,
that's genetic.
Batman versus baldness. He's turning the corner. Sorry.
They have a bunch of ice cream and then they get in and like blow out the Batmobile. Come on, son, let's go grab some ice cream.
No.
No.
Don't worry. I'm trying out this new serum. Man, it smells like a gutter in here.
Where we put villains to interrogate them. You're going to ride with us for 4 hours. Where's Rachel?
Yeah, it's just
where's Rachel?
just imagine, what was it? The Batman versus Superman, wherever he's in the corner, and the cops like looking around, and then he's just like, whoops. Damn it, he saw me. Yeah, but that's our top 5 villains.
Yeah, that was fun. Good times.
Yes.
Let us know
Stay
who
tuned.
you think are the most underused heroes or villains. Where could they do that, Brock?
Dropculture.com.
That's a good spot.
Or
that's where I'd recommend.
YouTube.com/dropculturepodcast, I think, right?
Yeah, sure.
Something like that.
Yeah, Brock will answer those.
Yeah. And well, I'm fucking horrible at getting back to people, but I will. I have a lot.
We do a good job of talking to them sometimes on the show, but not so good of a job of actually responding within those forums.
You know what?
Do pretty good on the social media because they pop up.
Yeah, it's like
YouTube
for free.
You gotta like look at your email,
dude. Yeah, but yeah, it's Gmail. Dropculturepodcast@gmail.com, Yahoo.com, AOL. We're pretty much on every. I made sure that I cornered the drop culture market.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Podcasters
reach out to us. Yeah, podcasters are us, and as always, aisle number 23 at Menards.
That's right. Save big money at Menards.
That's right. Not a sponsor. No. All right, later, dudes.
Peace.
Grabs a glass of milk and he's on a job and he's like really slinking around. He's trying to do that walking with the wind shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Walking against the wind. And then he just blows a massive fart.
And then Captain America comes and kicks his ass because he fights against intolerance.